In this module, we will learn the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs of the Validate Scope process. Validate Scope is the process of obtaining formal acceptance that the completed project scope and deliverables have met stakeholder expectations. This process should always be performed at the end of a project as well as at the end of major phases that require acceptance of deliverables to move to the next phase. Since verified deliverables are an input to this process, it can be implied that this process will generally happen after the control quality process. It is important to understand the relationship between the two processes. The Validate Scope process has 5 key inputs. The project management plan includes important subsidiary documents to this process, such as the scope baseline, which includes the approved scope of the project, and the scope management plan, which should describe how formal deliverable acceptance will be achieved. The requirements documentation and requirements traceability matrix describe the stakeholder requirements and how those requirements may be linked to deliverable acceptance testing. Work performance data, an output from the direct and manage project work process, may describe the status of deliverables, such as compliance with requirements or defect rates. Finally, verified deliverables are a key input to this process. They are generated from the control quality process upon successful inspection by the project team. The key tool and technique for this process is inspection. This is the process where stakeholders, often the customer, will examine the verified deliverables to ensure that all of their requirements and acceptance criteria are met. Other stakeholders besides the customer may be involved in Validate Scope as well. For example, on a construction project, local government may have inspectors to make sure that the building meets code and other regulations. Decision-making can be used to reach an agreement or conclusion among stakeholders. The stakeholder inspection will lead to one of 2 key outputs. If stakeholders find that deliverables meet requirements and acceptance criteria, then they will accept the deliverables. As described in Chapter 4, these accepted deliverables are an input to the close project or phase process. If stakeholders do not find that deliverables meet requirements and acceptance criteria, then they will request changes to the deliverables. As described in Chapter 4, change requests are an input to the Perform Integrated Change Control process. The Change Control Board will need to evaluate if the change is within the current scope of the project and the impact of the change will have on various project objectives such as schedule or budget. Change requests that are approved will lead to rework that will be performed in the direct and manage project work process. Since we see the term deliverables in several project management processes, it is important to understand the relationship between these processes. Deliverables are first generated in the executing process to direct and manage project work. These deliverables will first be inspected by the project team in the control quality process. Once satisfactory, verified deliverables will be inspected by project stakeholders in the Validate Scope process. Once accepted, the project team may begin administrative closure of the current phase or the project. Work performance information provides project status as it relates to the approved plan. For Validate Scope, this may include the progress of deliverable completion and acceptance. Many processes may lead to updates to project documents. Since project documents are not subject to the same levels of approval that baselines are, these updates may not require formal change control. Since verified deliverables are an input to this process, it can be implied that this process will generally happen after deliverables have been verified by the project team in the control quality process. Validate scope is the process of stakeholder inspection to determine if deliverables meet requirements and acceptance criteria. If they don't, then change requests will be generated, which, if approved, would lead to rework by the project team. When deliverables do meet requirements, the stakeholders will accept deliverables. Accepted deliverables will become an input to the close project or phase process. This implies that this process may occur several times throughout the project lifecycle. At a minimum, it will likely occur at the end of the project as a whole and at the end of each phase. Although on projects with many intermediate deliverables, this process can happen more frequently.